Hello and welcome back to Season 5 of 2025 here at oNiD. We're here for the final week, the final round of the Super Formula Light season here on iRacing, and well placed to end the series off. We come to the Red Bull Ring here at Austria for this final round. A nice high-speed track, lots of overtaking opportunities through the first half, through the three straights up to turn 4. And then a nice little technical section which will challenge the drivers. Joining me as always for the series for the final round, it is of course Aidan Hard. How are you doing, Aidan?
Get your Lederhosen at the ready. Is Austria and Spielberg here for the Red Bull Ring. Yes, good evening. Thank you, Scotty. I'm a bit croaky, so I apologise for those who have to potentially put up with my bit of coughing and spluttering, but we are here nonetheless. Well, it's gone so quickly. Final round of these Super Formula Lights here on oNiD Community Racing for Season 5. Season 6 is already been announced. If you've not seen it in our Discord, get over there. discord.gg/oNiD Community Racing. And next season for iRacing has been announced. We're going back to multi-class. I believe we are doing MX-5s and touring cars once more.
A little sort of homage to how we started the year.
Indeed,
yes.
yes.
The same classes. And it's how we'll be ending the year with Season 6. We'll talk a little bit more about next season a little bit later, as qualifying has started for this final round. We're a few minutes into it here at the Red Bull Ring. And of course, as always, in our first half of qualifying, we have the AM drivers out setting their first lap times. Mike Pfeiffer's will be the first driver to set lap time as they look to take the AM Championship. 124.6 is the opening benchmark, but as we know, that time will fall as drivers gain some confidence, gain some tire temperature. Especially these are the sections, and we see the opening laps coming in. But yeah, Mike Pfeiffer's with that pole, current, obviously provisional pole position, looking to clinch the AM title, 20 points ahead of Runar Batovsson this week. So it's Pfeiffer's is in the hot seat to take the championship. They'll just need to make sure they have a clean round, and they should be able to wrap it up this weekend, as we're seeing one of the cars, Ben Holmes, heading through T1 as their first valid lap. Not first valid lap, their first flying lap has not been valid. Dan Tomlinson coming across the line for their first flying lap. Is it valid? No. It does not seem like it. Of course, Red Bull Ring, very notorious for its track limits, especially through the final two corners, which we come to Runar Batovsson challenging for the AM title to the final two corners, in through the fast right-hander of turn 9, keep it within the white lines, then it's turn 10, sharp little apex, very easy to run wide, and that might have been an invalidation. I think the drivers were saying it's white lines at the final two corners. As Batovsson comes across the line, we do not see a lap time on the board, so we have to assume that it was that final corner that invalidated it. Simo across the line goes provisional pole as the first driver to set a second valid lap. 24.1 is the new benchmark, though it looks like they might have ran a little bit wide on the exit of T1, and with a little bit of traffic in front, they're going to bail out of this lap and go again next lap.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Time's already tumbling, finding pace as these drivers, as one of the only drivers is very wide there onto the exit. I think that was Ben Hound selecting to go back to the pits, as Tomlinson just ahead of them actually. Actually, Tom Jones is coming to the line very, very shortly, if I can find him on my timing app. There he is.
He's had an issue in the middle sector at 12 seconds off his best sector. Yeah. And you can see that in the time. So another build up for Tomlinson. Obviously did not remain valid. And time is starting to tick out, just over 4 minutes now to get a lap on the board, and that is not going to help Dan Tomlinson. A half spin through T1, another sort of half spin towards the wall, trying to get going again. He'll need to pit and put on some new tyres, try and find his way to a valid lap. Batovsson now across line for a second time. This time is a valid lap at 125.1, second off the top time only P5 within the AMP class so far. Mike Pfeiffer's a driver we're used to seeing quick, not the top anymore, still half a second off Simo. Dave Wood now across the line, a new driver for this season, 1.1 seconds off as they set their first valid lap. He's got to pull over and head to the pits and go again for a second qualifying stint. We come to Simo, who just took provisional pole with that 124.1. They're going for another lap here, and it's a personal best first sector, so improving so far. See if they can hold it through the middle sector.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting to see that no one else really improving. Well, actually, Mike Pfeiffer to say that, and currently in P3, car number 15, purple second sector. I think Simo here is not improving as much as Mike is. So we'll go to Mike first and see what he can do. He goes down into the penultimate turn. The final corner will follow very quickly. Can he keep it on track? He does just about. We'll come
We're not sure if it's the curbs or the white lines through those final couple of corners, so bear with us. Pfeiffer's across the line. If it is an improvement, no time pops up, so no clarification there.
I think it is the white lines, and that penultimate turn that I saw him go through, it was that white line. He exceeded. All four wheels were off the circuit, but two of them were still on that red and white curb, so I would hazard a guess to say it is the white lines that is deemed track limits. Wayne Basson, however, is got up to second, and the only other drivers are out on circuit at the moment. Oh, that's not going to help Ben Holmes.
Still yet to get a valid lap on the board. Runs wide through turn 6. Putting a couple of wheels in the gravel, losing control of the car. Will return to pit lane. They'll have time to get out and get one flying lap in just before time runs out, but it will be on cooler tyres, so I suppose any lap is better than no lap. Through then turn 6 is Mike Pfeiffer's, just by keeping it within track limits there, and it's another purple middle sector, going even quicker this time, though did lose 2.5 tenths in the first sector compared to their personal best. Through turn 9 now, careful not to run wide. I think that is wide. Through the final corner, runs wide again, so we'll see here if the time does pop up as valid. We're not expecting it to do so. And cross line for Mike Pfeiffer's, it is not a valid lap time. They will have one final lap here to try and put themselves into provisional pole, and they'd be allowed of it. They will not be completing the lap, and that is the AM part of the session all done and dusted. We have 50 seconds until the pro drivers make their way out, which is a little bit odd. Everyone finishing up nice and early.
Indeed, no valid lap times for few drivers actually. So we'll see them start down further down the grid and for this first race. But we wait for the rest of the drivers to come out now to set their lap times. Only 30 seconds or so to go before we see cars back out on the grid. And we can then get going once more. Let's have a look, see if we can get a pit lane image. There they are. All the cars waiting to go out. And we should see a flurry of cars come out very shortly.
So we're hearing there was a mess up in the session setup, and the drivers were limited to 3 laps. Hence why we've sort of had the early finish to the AM part of the session. Now as we hit the 10-minute mark, it is time for the pro drivers to head out, and they will be well aware of the 3 limited laps that they have. Hopefully more of them can get a valid lap in. Not an easy track to be limited in how many laps you get, and that is not a good way to start your qualifying session. Luckily, it shouldn't harm them too much. They'll get back to pit lane, get out as if nothing ever happened.
Nothing to see here. As the pro drivers now leave the pits, and it's most notable. There's a certain amount of drivers, four drivers that I can see there, unable to set a lap time. I'm not sure of whether they are in the AM class. I didn't see their names go out on circuit previously, but there's definitely a couple of drivers, at the very least in the AM class, who were unable to get a valid lap.
Yeah, at least 2 of the drivers, I think it was only 2, Dan Tomlinson and Ben Holmes, I think were the only two AM drivers that didn't get a lap time in. Hopefully, for the sake of all the pro drivers, they can get laps in, and so they're not starting behind the majority of the amateur field. Then through the final couple of corners is David Balcombe, a new driver for the final round. So entering as a wild card. They're setting off on their first valid lap. And let's go for a lap around Austria, the Red Bull Ring, heading up to turn 1, the Niki Lauda curve, now recently named after his unfortunate passing about 6 years ago now, through turn 1. I'll be careful with that exit sausage curb. You want to carry as much speed as you can as you climb the hill up to turn 3. Turn 2, this little left-hand kink into the braking zone for turn 3. Heavy on the brakes for the tight right-hander. You can take multiple lines here, but again, you want a good exit, good traction as you sort of head over the crest that is just after the apex, and then make the run down to turn 4. Downhill braking here for turn 4 can make it quite tricky. Look to the left-hand side, braking just after the 100-meter board. Get the car turned in. Careful not to lock up the front right tire. And get on throttle. No use of the apex curve. Lot of use of the apex curve. No use of the exit curve. Then through turn 5 into turn 6. Long left-hander. Corner just keeps turning. Careful not to run wide. I think that's going to be track limits, but we'll stick with it just in case. Through turn 7, not as long. And you've got this right-hander of turn 8 just to relieve the car. And already billing over the lap is welcome. And they let Aiden Card through. Card? I've just mixed up two ins. No, it was not Aiden Carter that went through. Was one of our other red cars trying to say it was Luca Monroe who is first to set a lap time. It's 1:24.9 is the benchmark in pros, but as we mentioned, as the drivers get the tires up to temperature, find some confidence, those lap times will improve. Drivers now setting off on their second of 3 flying laps.
Indeed, they are. Balor. I can't pronounce that. I'm going to say Sander. Sander in second now with 124.3. Next car to see the line will be Sarah Dove. She'll get there on the line. It's 11th for 126 7th. Staples 10th. And Jonas will come to line. It's not going to be an improvement for him. It'll be a banker lap at worst. But it's not valid. I don't think he popped up there on the timing tower. Luke Andrews now gets to the line, car 59. See what you can do. Again, lap time not valid.
Yeah, of course, it is only the first flying lap, a sort of banker lap, you could say, is to get the tires up to temperature. Not crucial if they haven't invalidated it. They just need to make sure they get a valid lap through the remainder of the session. Plenty of times coming in. A quick time coming in from Aiden Carter. Purple middle sector so far, not quickest in the opening sector though. I'm trying to look to see who is quicker. It's only an AM driver, I believe, that has gone quicker. Luke Monroe gets up to P5. Graveson follows in P6. Aiden Carter runs wide through the final corner. That's a guaranteed invalidation. I think the drivers or not. That is somehow valid. A 123.4 then, top of the timesheets. A surprising provisional pole position for Aiden Carter there.
Very much so indeed. I could have sworn that it was track limits and they went across the red and white curb, beyond the red and white curb almost at some points, but maybe getting right on the limit and using up all the available track they have for their usage.
Yeah, so most of the pro drivers onto their final laps. Now, we've had a couple of drivers that have left a little bit later in the session to start their laps, try and get some clearer air at the end of the session, perhaps, as Luke Andrews has now popped themselves into second, just about 4/10 off the top time for Aiden Carter, as Jake Andrews, really pushing track limits on the final corner. We were surprised about Carter's time being valid, Andrews' time unsurprisingly not valid, but Carter going for another lap and is improving once more. Luca Monroe bunches up to second place. This surely can't be valid with entry to the final corner. Graveson bumps up to P6. And Aiden Carter across the time for the final time of the session.
It is valid.
Does improve by just under 1/10 of a second. and has set the final benchmark, a
Oh,
1:23.3. Bly sets their final lap time, and it's 2 tenths off. They'll be starting second place at best. Monroe has finished, will be third place at best. We now come to Luke Andrews, who's coming up to finish their final flying lap into turn 9, swing the car in, use as much as the track as you like, it seems like. Wide through the final corner, but we'll see if it's valid. It is a purple first sector. If it is a valid lap across the line, do we see a time pop up? It does not look like it. The Gandries will be starting fourth at best. I've had a couple of other times come through. Hobbs getting up to P9, Staples into P10. And Jonas having completed their third and final flying lap, only 15th place. It's been a disappointing session for them. Jake Andrews coming up to the line. They're starting their final flying lap, and I just hope that they haven't invalidated it by running wide through the final corner. They did have a slowdown, so hopefully that lap is still valid. Griefson has completed their qualifying laps, but they're continuing to get some more laps in. We've seen this in previous seasons. Drivers just wanting to get a few extra laps in for practice. So we have two drivers still to set their final lap time. Stephen Hobbs will be the first of those two drivers. Through turn 6 now. Long left-hander and coming up towards turn 7. A little bit wide of the apex as they not improving in the middle sector, did improve in the first sector though. It's over 2.5 seconds down in the middle sector, so I don't think this time from Stephen Hobbs is going to be any good, and they dive to the pits.
they do indeed. Still got a couple of a driver on a lap. Adam Greaves electing to continue to go for one last flying lap, and he's up on his personal best in sector 1. Sector 2 will come very shortly. The time being just before the entry on this corner, or not. There's the time being right on exit. There we go. But it's not an improvement in the middle sector. He will be looking to potentially potentially improve in the final sector, but I think he's backing off.
Yeah, he's already set all of his quality times. Jake Andrews finishes their final qualifying lap. Does get valid lap time on the board, but it was only good enough for 15th. So that means Greaveson completes some final practice laps in the remaining time of this qualifying session. We have 3 drivers that failed to set a lap time. Ben Holmes and Dan Tomlinson in the AM class. David Bulcombe in the Pro class. Their first race and only race of the season. They'll be starting from 18th position.
Indeed, they will. Let's just take a brief moment. Qualifying will tick over in the next 30 seconds or so, and then we can give you the full grid for the race this evening. Now, it will be 2 races as per usual, and a reverse grid top 10. Top 10 reverse? I should know this at this point. We've been doing it for 6 bloody weeks now. Yeah, just waiting for those all important results to come in from qualifying. They can form our grid for race 1.
Getting a note in from the steward, from the admin, one of our iRacing admins, that with the session set up, it looks like we'll be just having 1 race tonight.
Oh.
And that will be our reverse grid race. So we'll be, seems like we'll be reversing our top 10 from qualifying, and then going into a single 30-minute race, kind of similar to what we had at Spa, if you remember back to the start of the season.
Yes.
But yeah, so drivers have a quick 3-minute warm-up session, it seems like.
Okay.
And then we will grid for our single reverse grid race for tonight.
Oh, that's a shame. A shame indeed. But top 10 reverse will be interesting. We can actually see the results from the qualifying. You'll see it was Aidan Carter. Took that all-important pole position from Sander, Monroe, Andrews, Simo, Greaveson, Busson, Pfeiffer, Hobbs, Staples. Now, if we do have this one race that is a top 10 reverse, it will be Philip Staples on pole, to Hobbs to Pipers, Bassin Greaves and Simo, Andrews Monroe, Blower and Carter will be your top 10. Morgan 11th, Dove 12th, Bottleson 13th, Wood 14th, Andrews 15th, Solsberg 16th, Pipers 17th, Balcom 18th, who unfortunately wasn't able to set a lap time. So one of the days we were hoping to see actually be able to set a competitive lap time. Along with Dan Thompson and Ben Holmes, both only racing drivers down on the back of the grid, he'll be looking at 19 and 18 cars ahead of them respectively to try and pass in this only single half-hour race this evening. As we do just to wait for another minute or so before the cars will then be forced back off the circuit into the grid formation. That was a very interesting line for a couple of drivers in the background. I think that was Matt Simo having a bit of a spin. Was that a cheeky practice start as well from one of the drivers too? Very sneaky, using that warm-up time wisely as we just wait for it all to tick over. Okay, for our only race. I'm somewhat, I'm half annoyed and then half relieved. And half annoyed that we don't get the full two half-hour races, but very relieved that my voice doesn't have to keep on talking for 2 half-hour races, Scotty.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this goes. Our reverse grid races have always been entertaining, even from the get-go at Spa. Although that one did start with a 15-minute safety car, so hopefully we don't start the same way as we ended the season. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this goes, especially turn 1. It is a bit of a pinch point, that first apex. I mean, we see in all racing that happens, plenty of cars usually needing to take to the runoff, if not a crash occurring. Hopefully we won't have too much mischief, but only time will tell as we're going to start gridding up for the 20 drivers to barrel their way up into T1.
As we stated, Staples on pole, Hobbs 2nd, 3rd will be Pipers, Basson 4th, Greason 5th, Stimo 6th, Andrew 7th, Monroe 8th, Balor 9th, and Carter in your top 10 reverse grid. 11th, Charlie Morgan, Sarah Dove in 12th, Bottleson 13th, Wood 14th, Andrews 15th, Solsberg 16th, Piper 17th, Balcombe 18th, Tomlinson 19th, and Ben Holmes in 20th position. I believe the cars are now gridding quite fairly quickly. As just trying to figure out the best camera angle. We'll go for that one. Let's go for TV1. There we go.
Just waiting on one more driver to grid up towards the tail end of the field, and then we'll send the cars up to T1. There they are, so the lights should come on fairly soon as the engines will rise for the final time this season. 3 cylinder engines rise, and away we go towards T1. It's a good start from Hobbs, and now 3 wide into T1 as Pipers is looking to the inside. This doesn't usually end well. T1, a couple of cars having to take to the runoff as expected, but it looks like everyone was through cleanly. Couple of cars get collected. That's 1 car cartwheeling down the track as we head up to turn 3. 3 wide once again into turn 3, as if doing it once into turn 1 wasn't enough. Backing out on the inside, Philip Staples getting clever as Hobbs is trying to carry the momentum round the outside and will retake the lead. Pipers is going to try and fight back once again into turn 4. Is going to tuck into slipstream, but Staples has run to the outside, looking to the inside though. Pipers trying to come back a little bit wide as Hobbs onto the gravel, and that's going to cost them a couple of places. Pipers into the lead, and following through is Staples as we've had another instant at turn 4. The reverse grid certainly providing a lot of carnage on the first half of the opening lap.
Indeed it is, as there's cars still fighting away going into the final sector, side by side for Solsberg and Batter. There's cars spinning up ahead of them. Who in the world was that? That was Greason.
and Stephen Hobbs as well have had it coming together out of turn 8. So 3 major incidents through lap 1. As we now start lap 2, Mike Pfeiffer's in lead, Staples in second place. We've got side by side between Jake Andrews and Luca Monroe. Jake Andrews getting the move done into T1 as Philip Staples goes for a spin out of T1 and will drop down the order from P2. Jonas up in second has a slowdown, so could be under threat for that second place. Dan Tomlinson from the back of the grid is up to P10, having avoided most of the carnage. But David Balcom, one of the other drivers that failed to set a valid lap time in qualifying, getting past and up into the top 10.
Battle for P5. We will briefly go back to the start of the race in a moment, but we'll just keep an eye on a couple of battles that are forming. That's Jake Andrews up the inside and then facing the wrong way. The car didn't like that at all.
We'll get going again as Dan Tomlinson spins, trying to put the power down, having just come off the gravel. Look how much gravel there is being dragged out onto the track on the exit of turn 4. Jake Andrews having a second spin on that, trying to put down the power. And Dave Wood following and coming together. So yeah, just 3 wide there. A couple of cars pinching together. The car in the middle couldn't do anything. Just an unfortunate situation. Unfortunately, Sander rolling there and having no choice but to tow back to pit lane. That will unfortunately put them a few laps down. A little further up, Sarah Dove into T1 will get an easy move down the inside of Ben Holmes as we see Sander just come out of the pit lane now. 2 laps down, unfortunately for them. And will just emerge right in the middle. Meanwhile, a little further up, Luca Monroe trying to make a move on Ronald Tulson as Wayne Basson makes a move on Mike Pfeiffer's for second place overall. And Sarah Dove with a spin, trying to put down the power out of turn 3, facing the wrong way, will find a gap to spin the car back round and will carry on dropping to P9.
Sorry for the cameras there. There was a tyre spill that I heard in the background. I think it was that leader spinning, but it was actually Sarah Dove just having a bit of an adventure as Ben Holmes is forced off the track now. He just joined this battle at the conclusion as I think Ben Holmes got a little bit showing the door there on the exit into the gravel trap there where the Bottas and Lawnmowing Company currently resides. Oh, never mind. Stop, Dove's round. That's what Dove. I'd stand corrected. That was same livery.
David Balcom.
David Balcom, yeah.
Yeah, so quite a few drivers, as we had 3 drivers pop up for off-track. Steve Wood has had a crash. Meatball flag given out for him. That's at turn 4. You can see suspension heavily damaged on the right-hand side and the front, missing whole front crash structure. So it's been a difficult race so far for Dave Wood, but drivers struggling so far in this race. I try and catch you all up on the chaos that's happened, but it is way too much to recap.
Yeah, spinning car. Oh! Oh no. I don't think they did wrong. I think it was more of a passenger than anything. Side T-boned that car. I can't figure out who that is. But he's limping back to pits now. Pfeiffer's being challenged for P2 now. Basson on the inside gets a move done. I do believe that is move done. Dustin Ben Holmes also has damage. What's happening to everyone this evening? It's all going mad. This is the final week. Everyone's putting all their guns out and going out with a bang. Let's have a see what's happened to Ben. If I can see what's happened, it's not showing up on my timing app for some reason, unfortunately, so you can't see what happened with Ben. But he does get going once more, albeit with loss of front wing and very damaged right front suspension. As Balcom in the background coming back past him. There's a car on lapping. That was Simo potentially. Oh, sorry, that was Simo potentially on lapping. But we'll just see Ben go to the pit. Staples also in pits, but I think it's going to be there for a while because I think he's already used his quick repair. as we now go.
Well, we have some actual racing here as we come up to
Yeah.
turn 3. Mike Pfeiffer's using the slipstream to get to the inside of Wayne Basson, having been passed by Basson a couple of laps ago. But Basson's going to tuck into the slipstream as they make the way down to turn 4. Looking to the outside for Basson as Pfeiffer's holds the inside. It's going to be a battle on the brakes. You can hold it around the outside here if you're brave, if you have the grip. But Wayne Basson not able to. Pfeiffer's will hold on to second place, having just reclaimed it. But you can tell Basson is just going to try and follow in the wheel tracks of Pfeiffer's and try and repay the favour next lap around.
Indeed you will. Oh, Sarah Dove, what's happened to you? You've dropped a few positions. Let's see if we can get a replay. Dropping from 6th was Sarah. I have a feeling too much right foot. No, there was a car in the way. That was the only car of someone, Tomlinson potentially, just getting in the way on exit, and that's what caused them to lose positions.
Yeah, quite a few drivers struggling with turn 3, trying to put the power down on the exit. 275 horsepower doesn't sound like a lot, but when you've got that crest right on the exits, you're trying to put the power down, it does make it difficult. Here we have Charlie Morgan slicing their way past Dennis Pfeiffer's up into 13th place, as they were one of the cars engulfed in the chaos of the opening lap and trying to recover some places, and so too is Matt Simo, who's also at the back of this 3-car train. They'll all make up a couple of places as Sarah Dove and Dan Tomlinson are in pit lane with a good exit of the final corner. Looking to the inside is Matt Simo, the slipstream from Charlie Morgan, though, helping Pfeiffer stay in front. And Matt Simo will have to try once again. Pfeiffer's now with the slipstream, is going to try and challenge Charlie Morgan up towards turn 3. It's going to have to look to the outside as they get towards the braking zone. Charlie Morgan not fighting it too hard in the braking zone, knows that there's another opportunity to come back towards turn 4 if they can get a good exit. Little hint of a lockup from Dennis Pfeiffer's, and that might give Charlie Morgan enough of a run. They're a little further back than Pfeiffer's was up to turn 3. Now into turn 4, Charlie Morgan just staying in line, not going for a move. We'll see if they can make their way back up into P11 a little later on. Actually has a bit of a run as they come towards turn 6. You can make a move around the outside here. Of course, this is where Charlie Morgan originally made the move, not quite able to through turn 6, but will get the nose up the inside for turn 7. Dennis Pfeiffer's respectfully leaves the room, and Charlie Morgan back up into 11th. So Matt Simo trying to follow through once again, not quite able to do this time, but Pfeiffer's with a run will look to the inside as they come towards turn 9, side by side. That got very close, but they somehow managed to avoid contact through the final corner. Now a little bit wide for Dennis Pfeiffer's, and that's going to give an opportunity for Matt Simo to make their way through as Wayne Basson further up has a mistake and drops down the order. We'll stick with this as Simo, thinking about the inside, backs out of that move, and then Dennis Pfeiffer takes apex as running wide is Charlie Morgan over the sausage curb. The car bottoms out and spins off towards the inside barrier. Looks like Charlie Morgan luckily avoided contact with barrier there, but will drop down the order as Dan Tomlinson starts to close up and try to take another place. Meanwhile, Matt Simo is still fighting to try and get past Dennis Pfeiffer's as they two are going to head towards turn 4, but we're going to look at Wayne Basson, who had that mistake not too long ago, is now fighting to try and hold on to 5th place ahead of David Balcom, who has come through the field having not set a time in qualifying, not able to make a move into turn 1, but will have a perfect slipstream opportunity up towards turn 3.
Yep, absolutely. Simo getting right close to Pfeiffer's as well, so keep an eye on that battle as much as I can everywhere else on circuit, as Basson outside line for turn 2, or turn 3 technically, isn't it, as he can't make it work going up on acceleration. Monroe will look to defend going downhill. It's open right-handed. If you've got enough momentum and get along the outside, you can make a move. But he thinks about going to the inside line, does Basson, but then thinks better of it. Simo will go back to this battle between him and Pfeiffer's. Simo looks to have the inside line to turn 1. Pfeiffer's will try and hold the outside, but then realises his efforts to do so are completely futile, and they'll tuck into the slipstream. Next opportunity coming up very shortly, late on the brakes for the tight right-hander. We'll see if the creamy coloured car darts out the slipstream, thinks about making a move but can't do so, will remain in 12th for now.
Yeah, got a little wobble as they tried to put the power down out of T1, just compromising their momentum and meaning they've not been close enough to utilise the slipstream and make a move back up into 11th place. Meanwhile, someone who is trying to make use of slipstream is Wayne Masson. They've used it a little too effectively though, carrying too much speed into turn 1, running wide and giving the place back to Luca Munro, and a slowdown for their troubles as well.
Yep, indeed. We'll see if we can get a quick cheeky replay of that. Inside line has a run. I have a feeling he's just a bit too late on the brakes, has a bit of a wobble, clips the inside curb and unsettles the car, and yeah, that's how that one unfolded. And a good, yes, a slowdown for good measure as well. It's actually dropped quite a far way back as well after that slowdown.
Yeah, we'll have to push to try and catch back up to the slipstream, which is pretty effective through the opening straights of the lap, though can be a little bit difficult through the dirtier this middle sector in the final couple of corners. We're going to come to a replay of David Balcom through the left-hander, turn 7, runs a little bit wide, the car gets unsettled, and they'll go for a full 360, not quite able to clear the racing line, but avoiding the barriers, not picking up damage in that regard. The tyres will not be best pleased with the spin, but it could be worse. Sardov up into 15th place as they make a move, a nice easy move to the inside of Charlie Morgan, who of course struggling a little bit after that spin they had at T1 a few laps ago.
Just quick replay of that, easily done. I think Charlie Morgan, I think it was either allowing Sardov to go through, or that was a very good move with lots of slipstream. Either way, they get the move done, and it's now Des Pipers who's been dropped a little bit, has allowed Jake Andrews to get through for 12th position. No harm, no foul. We'll get that move done and dusted as it's getting reports of Stephen Hobbs getting off the circuit for some reason. He does continue, but will be... Oh, Matt Simo, however, is not going to be able to hold that position off at turn 1 and gives the place back to Pipers, and Andrews drops to 13th. That is going to be a kick in the teeth for sure. Let's see how he did that. I imagine too much right foot, too much curb, and does the Lando Norris spin, if you recall from a year or so ago, and goes off into the grass, avoids the barrier, and doesn't have to make an acquaintance with Barry R. I love that, Barry R. It's very good, Scotty, I must admit.
Yeah, one just noticed at the front, Mike Pfeiffer's in second place. Bit of a slow lap last time round, 1:26.0, as we see Dan Tomlinson considering building sandcastles in the gravel trap. New fastest lap for the race, 1:23.3 from Aidan Carter, as they look to recover after the chaos that they got involved in at lap 1. Of course, being reversed down to 10th place. They were right in the midst of, right in the thick of it. Not much they could do to avoid it, really. So, unfortunately, has limited their potential this race. They have 20 seconds to close up to Wayne Basson, which is a tough ask as we're into the second half of the race. But yeah, as I just said, Mike Pfeiffer's bit of a slow lap last time around, 1:26.0, 2 seconds slower than Jonas, who has been leading this race since about the third lap. And as a reminder, came all the way from P16 on the grid, having not got a great qualifying lap in. They avoided all the chaos and luckily find themselves at the front of the field. And currently they seem to be holding on. Mike Pfeiffer is trying to make up for the previous lap, setting a new personal best as sub 1:24. But will they be able to close in the 3.8 seconds that separates them to the leader of Jonas?
Let's have a quick look. Why there's not much going on? Let's have a look at the start for Jonas. as they go through turn. This is the start of the race. You see all the carnage about to unfold. There's a car. Oh, that's a interesting place to be, and always gets hit by a spinning Aiden Carter at the start of the race. Heals the gap between a couple of cars and is able to make the move up into the lead. And well, at that point, up into P8. But a very successful start for Jonas there.
Yeah, and it carried on, but has obviously, while we were watching that replay, he made a mistake of some sorts, as right on the tail now is Mike Pfeiffer's hunting down Jonas for the lead as they come towards the final couple of corners. If Mike Pfeiffer's can stay that close through here, they'll get a slipstream run towards T1 and the fight will be on for lead. But losing the rear end through the final corner will be an easy move for Pfeiffer's into the lead. Jonas holding on to the car somehow, but taking a half spin out of the lead after a prior mistake earlier on in the lap. How unfortunate for them. We'll try and see what that mistake was in a moment, but here we've got a mistake from Jake Andrews through turn one. Just try and pick up the throttle, ran a little bit wide, the car unsettled by the sausage curb, spinning it into a half spin, and then unfortunately collecting, not sure what car that was.
That was Massimo.
Yeah, Massimo, very unfortunate there to be collected by that mistake from Jake Andrews.
Yeah, I do get going once more, but Simo's returned to the pits, and I can tell you now that's not going to be a quick repair. He's already used it as Salzburg now under threat from Bassen behind, but has also been overtaken by Luke Monroe as well.
Yes, so Luke Monroe up into P3. We'll see the move here got done on the inside of turn 3. And Jonas maybe struggling with the tires now that they've had a couple of mistakes, had a couple of slides on them. But it's keeping up with Monroe. It's going to be in slipstream range. Might be able to fight back at that P3 as long as they don't make any more mistakes. I thought they had a little wobble there through the final corner. But you can tell, just not quite as confident through there as Monroe opens up a 10th through the final corner alone. Through turn 1 now. Can Jonas maybe set up a move towards turn 3? Does get a good exit, and in the slipstream is closing and closing in up towards turn 3. Will Monroe defend the inside? Will indeed. Jonas looks to the outside, brakes late to try and hold a long way through, but Monroe just releasing the brake towards the apex and will hold on with the inside. But another attempt here for Jonas as he head to turn 4. Game will be inside or outside. It'll be outside as again Monroe defends the inside. Will Jonas be brave there? They will be, but they just lock the rears, trying to be a little bit too brave, and they gift Bassen at P4 now. Luckily a big enough gap to Carter in P6 that they'll hold on to the top 5 position.
Indeed they will. That's a shame. Salzburg there will remain in 5th. As said, there's a good odd 13-second gap between him and Aiden Carter. Sarah Dove is dropping down the order and has damage. That is a funky front wing and potential suspension as well. Now, they have been in the pits previously. I'm not sure if they used their quick repair or not, but if it isn't a quick repair, it'll be waiting a while. Andrew, Simo and Andrews, well, did both the Andrews, both in the pits with damages. I think their quick repairs have also been used, so they're not going to be able to go back out into the circuit until those repairs have been completed. So lots of changes here on this final round.
Still 10 minutes to go. I wonder how much more chaos we will see. Drivers struggling, drivers trying to make something of this, what has been a very chaotic race. Yeah, Dan Tomlinson now a lap down from the leader.
Yes.
Yes.
Indeed.
That is actually Mike Pfeiffer's just in front, leading the way, or a couple of cars in front, I believe.
Yeah, the car in front of him is Adam Greaves in car 54, who's fighting for position. He has been lapped by Pfeiffer's, who is just there. Oh, no mind!
not fighting for position much longer as Greaveson runs a little bit wide out turn 7, picks up the gravel on the inside of turn 8, but the car very unsettled, spins off into the gravel. As we just see, just running a little bit wide, and the momentum of the car turning through turn 7 just meant that, yeah, not losing the grip, spinning the car around. Luckily for them, the gravel trap big enough to avoid hitting the barrier, getting any damage, but not enough to stop them from getting a drive-through penalty for instant points.
Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. And the pit lane behind him, Dove as well, returning back to the pit lane again, I think, again. Drive-through for Sarah Dove as well. Indeed it is.
Yeah, looking at the off-tracks on the timing screen, we have some high numbers, quite a few people in double digits, including Mike Pfeiffer's our leader at 10. Stephen Hobbs is the highest at 25, as Ben Holmes has a wide moment there of the final corner. Picks up a slowdown for their troubles, which will allow David Balcom to not just close up, but maybe have a potential move into turn 4, as Mike Pfeiffer's just having a brief internet issue, it seems, was showing as being out of the race there for a moment, but is carrying on 5 seconds in the lead ahead of Runner Bertolfsson. 2 AM drivers leading the way of this race. Just shows you how chaotic it has been.
Yeah, absolutely. Never rule out anything to happen or not happen in these races. It's been a theme of them for the past 5 or 6 weeks. The joys of open wheel racing. Tin tops, however, for next season we return back to TCR cars and Mazda MX-5s. Multi-class racing, which just gives a nod to where we all started from this year.
So Dan Tomlinson, next driver to pick up a slowdown, and Dave Wood, next driver to pick up a drive-through for incident points. As we continue on, just under 7 minutes remaining in this something of a race. Ben Holmes still on the back of Stephen Hobbs. Well, not for much longer. It's Cursor, the commentator. Does pull, nearly pulled off a 360, just clipped the grass switch, spun the car the wrong way again. We'll hopefully get the car rotated and get going again before anyone else comes up on the scene. Just about does. There comes David Balcom, just managing to avoid the slowly recovering Ben Holmes. But yeah, those tires aren't going to be too impressed with that very interesting pirouette. It might be a difficult end to the race for Ben Holmes, as Dennis Pfeiffer is starting to close up, maybe sensing a potential P9 just in front of them.
Quite potentially. We'll see what he can do, as he is in slipstream, but is unable to do anything as of right now. Gap is less than a second. I stand corrected, now become just about over a second after that poor exit out of turn 3, and will live to fight another day, but that gap not conducive. He actually might be getting a little bit of a toe, just around that 1 second mark, but it needs to be a bit more closer to try and get into the slipstream and see what he can do. Dave Wood comes into the pits to his drive-through, so that will be a salt to wound kind of self-inflicted issue there. Drops a couple of positions. Staples, however, gets a slowdown. He'll look to serve that very shortly down in 17th, but will potentially get a place off Dave Wood as well, as he comes across. Oh no, Dave Wood gets out ahead. I stand corrected.
Yep, well, you will see Dave Wood in the distance heading up towards turn 3. As we still have a few drivers, both Andrews and Simo, in the pits repairing. Funny enough, all 3 of them are on the same lap, so if they all left the pit lane at the same time, they could have an interesting race. But as we see David Balcom, he was making good progress. This race was up to P8, having a spin out of T1, a mistake we've seen quite a few times this race. And yeah, we'll drop down to P10 now.
I mean, it's that turn 1, isn't it? You try and carry as much speed as you can. You need to get the power down, but then if you run it a bit too wide onto that yellow sausage curb and with the throttle fully open, you're going to be risking that spin out, as we've seen so many times this evening. As we progress in the last 4 minutes, as Aidan Carter in 6th, looking to make a bit of a comeback drive. 123.0, new fastest lap. It's only about 6.5 seconds away from P5. Now, I don't think Aiden's going to have enough time to get up to P5.
Yeah, there's less than 4 minutes to go now. The last lap was 1.4 seconds quicker. I think he's just going to run out of time. We need a mistake from Jonas, which isn't impossible. We have seen a few from them in the second half of this race so far. But yeah, that gap coming down, as you can see in the bottom right, and I'm sure it will continue to do so. Maybe if Jonas catches up to Basson and those two start fighting, might help slow each other down and allow Carter to close up a little bit further. A little wide there for Carter, picking up an off track. Hopefully isn't too close to a drive-through penalty. Speaking of, Philip Staples will be the next driver through pit lane to serve one. But we come to this battle just in front of Carter as Jonas closing up on Wayne Basson, and will be trying to challenge for P4 as Dave Wood has had an incident. That is that Dave Wood there recovering? No, that's Dan Tomlinson. Slowly recovering and losing a spot to Charlie Morgan. But side by side now into turn 3, Basson looking to the inside, being braver on the brakes. Have they ran it in a little bit too deep? Or Jonas, sorry, on the inside, deep on the brakes. Can Basson get the exit with that sort of open line? It doesn't seem like it. In the background, we have Charlie Morgan, Dan Tomlinson fighting over 11th place. To the outside goes Charlie Morgan, and Dan Tomlinson on the inside just locks the rear and finds, I think that was David Balcom they came across.
No, it's Aiden Carter.
Aiden Carter. So unfortunately that has put pay to the recovery that they were making. I think that's going to be end of the race for Aiden, unfortunately.
Let's see what happened, but I think it's completely unsighted. We'll jump on board. There's two cars fighting away. I think you can see the tyre smoke, and then potentially was expecting not the car to drive forward. Oh, that's not going to go down well in the owner's chase. Still parked there is Aiden, so he needs to get that car moved, as it is a bit of a risk for people wanting to come along to that corner. He does get off the track, but maybe a bit of frustration, taking a moment just to figure out what in the world happened as the spinning car out of Dave Wood and going off into the gravel as well.
Spinning in sympathy of Aiden Carter's issues. I think maybe just in disbelief in what had just happened, Aiden, as they were there. Mike Pfeiffer's now also crashing at turn 4. I guess turn 4 is the point to watch the end of this race from. They're going to try and get going, but it's not going to be soon enough. But Tolson is up into the lead. Monroe is in second place, and Jonas just a little too far back to get themselves onto the podium.
Let's see how that happened. Too much right foot. Yeah, it goes wide.
Yeah, onto the gravel. No traction on the gravel, and yeah, spins themselves into the wall all by their own doing, and is now going to have to fight to hold on to a podium place as Runner Bertelsen will be crossing the line to start the final lap of the race with just a few seconds left on the timer. A good exit from Jonas brings him alongside it side by side towards turn 1. Jonas on the inside, Mike Pfeiffer's on the outside. How damaged is the Rothmans Williams liveried Super Formula Light car? Maybe a little bit too much. Trying to find the outside, Mike Pfeiffer's not able to hold on, and Jonas takes the final podium position with just 7 corners to go.
Does indeed. It's going to be up to Salzburg to try and hold that position, but Pfeiffer's potentially a bit of damage from that spin down in turn 4 will be a little bit compromised here on the straight line. He's coming out of the back straight there, but the gap is extended over to 0.4 of a second, so I think he'll be looking to try and hold that 4th position potentially, but actually makes a mistake, and definitely is now going to be looking and not to be challenging for a podium. That's the same thing again as last lap. This goes a little bit wide.
Luckily, it doesn't spin the car around this time. And will hold on to P4. But Jonas maybe putting a bit of a late charge to try and take the second place from Luca Monroe. It'll be difficult to make a move in the final couple of corners, but they might be able to do it. They run a bit wide through the penultimate corner there. I think they won't be able to do it as Runner Bertolfsson somehow finds themselves top of the timesheet. Top of the pack and will take the victory. Luca Monroe does hold on by 87 thousandths of a second over Jonas, who will take the final podium spot. Mike Piper's mistake on the penultimate lap, dropping to P4. Wimpassen will take P5. We go 30 seconds back to our next driver, Stephen Hobbs, who is in P6. As David Balcom is first of our drivers, that is a lap down, finishing in P9. It has been one eventful race. I'm not sure how to summarise that race at all.
Neither can I. It was the Red Bull Ring does seem to have the ability to throw out incidents, track limits as well, being a massive thing here. We've seen those drivers fall foul to many instances of drive-throughs and track limits. But yeah, I think the stewards are going to be a little bit busy. Let's say, as we're just awaiting Dave Wood to come to the line. And he does take that final car to take the checkered flag. And for that, folks, that is done and dusted for iRacing here. Now, unfortunately, no second race tonight as an unfortunate admin error. But we'll go to the results and we will see that it is Bertolfsson takes a win from Monroe, Salzberg, Pifers, Basson, Hobbs, Holmes, Pifers, Morgan, Blau, your top 10. The whole field lapped up to down to P9. Just shows how quick if you can be around here when you have the people to slipstream. It is then Tomlinson 11th, Dove 12th, Greason, Balcombe, Staples, Wood, Carter, Andrews. And then Andrews again, the two Andrews, 18th and 19th, and Simo down in 20th. Oh my, what a race to finish iRacing Season 5.
It's a shame we didn't get the proper title fight we were looking for at the end. The championship was quite close. There's only 18 points in it at the top of the pro standings. Aidan Carter trailing Luca Monroe. That would have been a fun way. Adam Grayson and Sarah Dove were tied on points in third position. 177 points. It's a shame we didn't get to see those fights come to a satisfying conclusion. But yeah, that has been it for Season 5 of our iRacing series. An eventful one, for sure, both to start and to finish, for sure. I don't know how to sum that one up, but yeah, I suppose we move on to Season 6 in a couple of weeks' time.
Indeed we do. It will be a rest week for the stream team. Socials should be live now on oNiD Community Racing on our SimGrid Community page. AC, iRacing, and I believe ACC also having socials for our week's rest period before we get kicked off again 2 weeks today for round 1 of the iRacing Championship. But have no fear, there is still one more streamed race to go for this week. It's the Sunday's night main event, the All GT3 Championship on LMU. And that will be our final stream for a little while, for 2 weeks, until Season 6 kicks off. What is 2 weeks today? It is...
It's 2 weeks today for the iRacing series, but let's just run through what we have in store for Season 6.
Yes.
On Mondays, our big series of Season 6, the Hound OLMS series, will be sort of an ELMS-inspired series with the new unrestricted LMP2 cars alongside GT3s. That championship filled in a heartbeat. It should make for some great racing. I know everyone's looking forward to it, myself included. with the new LMP2s. So yes, we will have that on Monday of next season. On Tuesdays, our Assetto Course installment will be having an IDTT trophy, 3 15-minute races, some reverse grid action in there around some very cool tracks and a new track we haven't seen on Assetto Course before. Should make for a fun series on Tuesdays. On Wednesday, the continuation of the SimHound Academy, now the SimHound Academy Cup, continues on the Mon Ultimate, making use of the new LMP3 cars to help the more inexperienced rookie and slower drivers to learn the ropes, get up to speed. Now with 2 times fuel usage and tyre wear for next season, more strategy will be at play as the drivers continue to learn how to make the most of their races. We also have on Wednesday our console edition on ACC. So if you're still on console and enjoying your Xbox and PlayStations, we have the SimHound Transatlantic Tour, which will be focusing on American and British tracks and cars for that series on Wednesdays. Then on Thursdays, our iRacing series, we have the Club Challenge. As we've already mentioned, going back to the MX-5s and TCR cars that we started this year off, taking it back a step in the cars as we've sort of been progressing throughout the year. So if you want to jump in, there is no better time than now for our Thursday iRacing installment from next season. And on Sunday, we return to ACC. It's been a 3-season break as we've embraced LMU, but they'll return 90-minute races around 6 rounds. Some classic tracks that we've missed, we've not been able to race at for the last few seasons. It will be great. Make sure you sign up on SimGrid. All those championships are live. As said, our Monday series is accepting signups, but reserves signups. Every other series, I believe, still has some spots for you to slot into. And between now and then, we also have some social races. So starting next week, we have on LMU on Monday, we have the new LMP2s at Fuji Classic. They should be a blast. On Tuesday, we have a Ferrari F355 Challenge at 2005 Silverstone International. That's quite a unique one there. On Wednesday, we have a GridLink event, a special AMS2 event that will be announced soon. On Thursday, we have a Street Stock 100 at USA Speedway. And on Sunday, we have GT4s at Hungaroring on ACC to get people back up to speed as we welcome back ACC. That's what we have next week. Signups for those, I believe, open tomorrow on SimGrid. So just keep an eye on SimGrid page as well as our Discord for an announcement on them. But yeah, until then, we will have our season finale on Sunday, our LMU Weekender series with the GT3s for one final time around. They will be heading around Spa for one final time. That should be an eventful race. It has been a great series. I'm looking forward to the final round of that with Tom Tosland joining me. But yeah, for now, I believe that is us for this evening, Aidan. Into the weekend now.
Yes. Into the weekend indeed. Have no fear, folks. The weekend is almost here. Thank you so much for your viewership. We will see you all very, very soon here for oNiD Community Racing. Take care and good night.